I'm your host, Dr. G, and here with me today, I have three special guests who are going to be talking about different methods of composting. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves and the topics that you each will be going over today?
Hi, I'm Hannah, and today I'm going to be explaining how windrow composting works and why you should use it in your farming operation.
Hello, I'm Aranza, and I'm going to talk about why vermicomposting is way better than windrow composting and reasons why you should apply vermicompost to your farming methods right away.
And I'm Francisco, and I'm here to tell you all why beam composting is the best of the three composting techniques and why you should implement beam composting into your farm operation as soon as possible.
With that, let's get into it.
So, as I said before, I'm here to talk about windrow composting. Windrow composting is the best method of composting because it can be done on a very large scale or just in your backyard. If you want to windrow compost, organic material is simply placed into large piles called windrows, and those piles are aerated every now and then by turning them periodically. This can be done mechanically or manually. This process creates large amounts of compost and can be done commercially at landfills or farms. Because compost in general smells pretty interesting, to say the least, I believe that implementing this method of composting would be ideal for landfills to add into their operations. For large-scale composting, there's an ideal size for your windrows to be. The ideal height should be somewhere between 4 and 8 feet, and the width should be between 14 and 16 feet. This will allow the microbes in the pile to be able to ferment all that sweet organic matter, which will generate heat while also allowing oxygen to reach the core of the pile, which is essential for the decomposition process. Remember, the microbes are doing most of the work for us, so we want to keep them happy by turning the pile. In return, they produce humus, carbon dioxide, and water. The heat that's generated by the pile will keep weeds and harmful bacteria from growing, which is an added bonus. As I was saying earlier, windrow composting is similar to the idea of creating a compost pile in our backyard and turning it with a shovel when you remember to do so or when the pile gets cold. The humus that's produced at the end of this process will have an organic matter content of around 50 to 75%, which is much higher than most healthy soils. Adding the compost to soil at this point will greatly improve the quality of your soil. It's a very easy process, and the results are fabulous organic matter that your garden or farm will benefit greatly from. So what's not to love? Start windrow composting today.
Imagine that after all the hard work both farmers and farm workers put in the fields to produce enough corn for you to make those tacos you've been craving all week, you end up changing your mind and decide to throw away the last taco you originally made. What a waste, isn't it? But as it turns out, you're not the only one who got too full before finishing his food. Imagine another million tacos being thrown away into the garbage. A third of the food we consume is wasted. An estimated 40% of the food we produce in the United States is ultimately wasted and thrown away. And not only that, we're also wasting energy and money. The more recent NRDC report states that America spends $218 billion a year managing food waste. But don't worry, there is hope even if you still refuse to finish that last scrap of food in your plate. Think worms. Worms convert organic waste into natural fertilizers. Up to 70% of our waste can become food and bedding material for vermicomposting. But first, you need worms. But not all worms are up to the task. Vermicomposting needs brandling worms, Eisenia fetida, or redworms, Lumbricus rubellus. These tiny organisms don't burrow deep. They have an amazing appetite and are well suited to convert organic waste into a usable fertilizer. The worms decompose food and other waste and turn them into castings, also known as worm poop. Its value as a fertilizer is amazing. It's rich in nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. It enhances plant growth, suppresses disease in plants, increases porosity and microbial activity in soil, and improves water retention and aeration. So instead of wasting those scraps of food or that last taco you didn't want. We can put waste back into our system to make it more sustainable. All of this with the help of a worm.
There we go.
As you may or may not have known, soil contains a comprehensive ecosystem in which reactions occur between organic material and microorganisms. The soil microorganisms found in healthy or living soil have important functions including converting nutrients for plants, building soil structure, improving how soil absorbs water, and allowing soil to draw down and sequester more carbon. The problem, however, is that soils are not always considered living or healthy. According to the United Nations, a third of the Earth's soils are severely degraded. Degenerative forms of agriculture may be attributed to the loss of living organisms that allow soil to perform the functions necessary for the health and benefit of the plants and environment. What can someone do if they're experiencing unhealthy soils? Thankfully, Dr. David C. Johnson, a microbiologist from the University of New Mexico, has developed a system that brings life back into lifeless soils by reintroducing beneficial microorganisms to the soil with biologically enhanced compost. The overall concept is called BEAM, or Biologically Enhanced Agricultural Management. However, the composting system utilized by Dr. Johnson is known as the Johnson-Su Bioreactor Composting System. The benefits to utilizing the Johnson-Su Bioreactor compost into unhealthy soil includes but is not limited to increases soil carbon sequestration, increases crop yield, increases soil nutrient availability, increases soil water retention capacity, produces biologically diverse compost, produces nutrient-rich compost, results in a low salinity compost, and improves seed germination and growth rate. You may notice that this compost provides roughly the same benefits as the other compost options. So what makes the Johnson-Su Bioreactor composting system more advantageous than other composting systems? Some benefits include reduces water usage up to 6 times, reduces composting labor by more than 66%, requires no turning and little manpower, is a low-tech process that can be easily replicated, can be made using a diversity of compost materials, produces no odors or associated insects, materials generally cost less than $35 and can be used up to 10 times, no leaching or groundwater contamination. This system includes a wired barrel-like structure wrapped around with landscape cloth and then placed on top of a wooden pallet. Long tubes of PVC pipe are then placed within the belly of the structure to provide a source of airflow for the sitting compost. Soaked organic matter like wood chips, for example, are then used to fill the system, where it is then left undisturbed to allow the formation of fungal communities. Through the use of this system, it is firmly believed that the addition of microbiology into soils will greatly influence and benefit healthy soil function.
Thank you again to our 3 special guests and their very informative explanations of 3 different types of composting. Which of these 3 composting methods seems the most beneficial to your operation? Are you a large-scale farmer looking for large quantities of compost? Or are you the backyard garden enthusiast looking for an alternative means to composting? No matter the size of your operation, we can all agree the beneficial uses of compost and what they have on soil function. That there's no one concrete method of creating compost and maintaining good soil health. That is all the time we have today on the Soil Organic Matter podcast, folks. Thank you again for joining me, Dr. G, on my journey to understand the complicated world of soils.